So that's your job. And your job is to be willing to die. You're a soldier, man. You're so on the front line. You've gone too far to turn back. If you went and hid in a basement for 6 weeks, people all over the world would think the government had killed you. So you have to understand your obligation, what the universe have gave you. And so just wants you to know. Man, I looked at that smile on your face just now. And the first time I ever wished I was a photographer, to take that picture and let the world see that honesty and that integrity. And know some of the things I know, how you'll drive all over the country to chase us down.
It's like I'm stalking though.
You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Chase us down. Okay?
I do feel like I have an obligation for people. I mean, it's bigger than me.
Yeah. But no, being business, you can't see it. It was business to Trump. He saw nothing.
All right.
Okay? I just saw it, that smile. Okay. And so again, I just say, man, I thank you. I look at Kathy Hughes, what she's able to do with that show. I look at Carl Nelson, the Joe Madisons. You know, some can go further than others because some got leeway. But I just say, man, to sit here, my birthday, it's a weekend. Thank you for contributing to my birthday. You know, all I say is thank you. We move so fast. I don't know if you're married, I don't know if you're a family, I don't know if you're a wife. But when we get on here, we bosom friends. Anytime I see you, I stop whatever I'm doing. Hey, my man, how are you? Hey. Hey, man, what, you know? I owe that to you. Because together, we can beat this thug. Because it's the universal God. And so again, I just say thank you. Thank you for running me down, man. So again, but that's the obligation that you have. How old are you?
I'm 36.
So you don't have the right to do what 36 people do. You don't have the right to go to the dance or go to the party. You don't have a right to take that trip to Europe when I might need that plane fare to fly somebody else to feed my people that love me. You feed them. Oh, it's one thing being hungry from food. There's another thing being hungry for information.
That's right.
And that's you the feeder. You got to be the farmer. You got to grow the crop. You got to till the grain. And at nighttime, when you hear something that sounds like water, you got to go see if the crop's going to be flooded. That's your job, man.
Yes, sir.
And then you got to deal with people that think you're crazy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, that's their way out. I'm embarrassed that you told me this, and I didn't know it, so I think you're crazy. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Baba Gregory. And the verses of the great Duke Ellington, we love you madly. Keep on producing and pushing.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Guess who's back? Back again. A brother Ron. Tell a friend. Guess who's back and still black? Guess who's back and still here? Welcome to We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Brother Ron, also known as R2C2H2, the artivist. It is a honor to be on this happy Monday. It's a fun day every day when you're on your game. And It's a lot to talk about here. Thank you all for tuning out to tune in to get in where you don't fit in. It's your brother Ron, like Dr. Michael King Jr. said, or y'all know him as Martin, not that Martin, but my ever dream Martin. He said, human salvation lies in the hands of the creatively maladjusted. And this is my tribe, the herd mentality. Word up. Hey, it's Brother Herd with the word. Brother Herd with the word. Brother Herd with the word. And I want to give a shout out. Came back from Atlanta, Wakanda, Georgia. Came back from Wakanda, Georgia. Even though them folks backdoor y'all, you know, them pink toes, they backdoored y'all. Y'all still got that black magic. It's witchcraft. I just came back from the podcast summit. Shout out to David Shands, Dunny Wiggins, and the crew. Yes, y'all. I thoroughly enjoyed myself at the podcast summit. Met some real movers and shakers. Oh yeah. Throw your hands in the air. And I want to give a shout out to them. Didn't get a chance to meet David Shands and Dunny Wiggins, but maybe next year, you know. But my thing was I was going there to get some cheat codes, how to do this podcast game in 2025. A lot of things done changed. You know, David Sands, he said, you know, his story is that he's a multimillionaire now. He does the Social Proof podcast. He try to help people, you know, be a coach, getting folks put on the game about how to do the podcast thing and make it rain that change you want to see, you know, the kind that folds and stuff like that and jiggles, you know, that type of change, you know what I'm saying? So he talked about him being a waiter at Cheesecake Factory, I think back in 2011, and he decided to do podcasting. And, you know, the rest is history. He did his thing, brought some people along for the journey. They got blessed as well. So my thing was, the podcast summit. You know, it's like, it's people there at the podcast summit that have been doing podcasting maybe less than 5, 10 years, less than 5 years. Actually, a lot of them cats started doing the pandemic of 2020, doing their podcast thing because the world stood still. And, you know, you at home, locked down, locked up, or locked down. Not locked up like ACOM, but just locked down because of quarantine. So folks started their podcast. Folks started, you know, looking at Netflix shows like the Last Dance and the Tiger King. People became celebrities overnight. But a lot of folks, you know, got their second win, their second act from getting online to tune out to tune in to get in where they fit in. And they made their mark. Now, with me, I've been doing podcasting. My first podcast was actually January the 7th, 2007. We all be media news, whatever, been going strong for 18 years. The ebbs and flows, the losses, the victories, you know, the tragedies, all this stuff wrapped up in my journey. And it's amazing me that I've been doing this for 18 years, but cats been doing it half my time. They got a lot of success. Shout out to them. They ain't knocking. I ain't mad at you. I'm trying to learn from you. I'm trying to eat like the big dogs, you know. You could teach an old dog new tricks if he's willing to open his mind, you know. So that's where I'm at right now. So it's interesting, man. The podcast game has changed a lot. When I started back in January the 7th, 2007 on Blog Talk Radio, Blog Talk Radio closed its doors at the beginning of this year, and Brother Ron is still here. That's God bless him. So Blog Talk Radio is no longer in existence. And I started podcasting on Blog Talk Radio back in January 7th, 2007. That was a Sunday, I think, a Sunday fun day, because every day should be a fun day when you put yourself in a position to win. So I remember starting my podcast out with just my friends, because I remember having these marathon conversations with my good friends, brilliant people for all walks of life. And I'm saying, man, we should preserve these talks for posterity. It shouldn't be just, you know, we talk on the phone for hours on end. And once we hang up, that's the end of the conversation. This thing should be preserved for posterity to inspire other people. So I started out basically interviewing my friends around the country. We probably talked for about an hour or so when we first started. And then slowly but surely, my friends started falling off. They started having other obligations. Some of the people that I was talking to, I thought were my friends, they're no longer in, you know, we're not in talking mode right now. We're not in communication. So, but my thing is, wow, my friends, they wasn't committed to like actually keeping the conversation going
like I was committed. So what I ended up doing, I started surfing the internet, starting on MySpace, just hitting up people I thought were interesting and saying, look, man, I'm really, like what you're doing. And I would like to interview you for my podcast. We all be. And a lot of times they would say, okay, cool. So I interviewed some interesting people. I remember going on to a civil rights veteran website because I'm into history. I respect the movement and the elders. So I started getting folks off of the civil rights website, veterans website, movement website, and people came on, people that worked with Dr. King, that knew the Stokely Carmichaels, that participated in Freedom Summer. They did all this stuff. They were willing to share their stories with me. So I remember, getting Dr. John Hope Franklin on, the great historian, survivor of the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921. His father was a lawyer who was very prominent and important in securing Black Wall Street for Black folks to rebuild. His father was an attorney. He was traumatized by being put in a concentration camp after the Tulsa Race Massacre, but he fought for his people. That's his father. And I interviewed him for about an hour. That was interesting because I had an interesting situation with Dr. John Hope Franklin. That, it was interesting, but it taught me a lot about growing. And so, that's all that. Then I get to 2011. I start interviewing people before that, 2007, I started the same year. A lot of folks forget about Gender 6 movement. You think about all the stuff that happened, man, since 2007, Trayvon Martin situation, Mike Brown. This is, we coming on the 20th anniversary of Katrina at the end of this month. This is crazy. Hurricane FEMA, Katrina, tag teams in human misery. And so, yeah, the Gender 6 movement, man, 18 years ago. Y'all remember Gender 6? How many of y'all remember Gender 6? I was a participant in that movement through the media side. What was interesting was, Gender 6 happened at Jenner High School down in Jenner, Louisiana. It sounded like it was a sundown town to me, but, it had Black folks there. But all situation about a so-called whites only tree in the high school yard that allegedly only white folks could sit under, white students, not Black people. It was a series of events that led to the Gender 6 movement, where I guess it was this white guy, this white high school student allegedly disrespected some Black students, and they beat him down real bad. They didn't unalive him or delete him. They just beat him real bad because I guess he was very loose with his talk. You know what I'm saying? He said some things he may not should have said or whatever. I wasn't there. It's like the Reginald Denny situation during the Rodney King riots. When the truck driver, Reginald Denny, got beat down. I think he got a brick thrown in his head, almost lost his life. But allegedly, he actually helped initiate it because I think he actually went down to the epicenter of the riot, Rodney King's riot, and was disrespecting people. But, you F around, you find out, and luckily he survived. And this white boy, he survived. But the thing about it is, the Just Us system was going to throw the book at these Black boys, the Gender 6. You were Black boys, young Black boys, not men, but teenagers. Was getting the book thrown at them. And so I was one of the first people to it got a lot of attention from the foreign press, but not a lot of attention stateside. I was one of the first people stateside to interview key participants in the Gender 6 movement. That included the parents of the Gender 6, as well as Tony Brown, a local popular Louisiana media personality in that area. He actually coined the phrase Gender 6. It's Tony Brown. I interviewed Tony Brown a couple of times, and other activists. So I was ahead on Gender 6. Everything came to a head when they had that mass movement to Gender back in September of 2007. But I really started that summer interviewing key participants of the Gender 6 movement. And I got close to Marcus Jones, who was the father of Michael Bell, who was the only Gender 6 person, I believe, that actually had any prison time. He was jailed at one point in prison, but he ended up graduating, I think, from Southern University with full with honors. I believe he also played football, I think, for Southern. In one of those institutions down in Louisiana. And Marcus Jones was the reason why I got in touch with Dick Gregory. Marcus Jones was a cool brother. He was a strong Black man. He was living at Dallas in a time when his son got in trouble with the law. He uprooted his life in Dallas, came back to Jenna to support his son. And he was very vocal. He was a man. You know what I'm saying? He was a blue-collar, hard-working black man who cared about black people. He not only loved his black son, he also loved black people. So, I mean, the Jenna 6 thing, I'm going down memory lane thinking about Jenna 6. And so I got close to Brother Marcus and Tony Brown. We have him on the show for updates. And I actually helped with the Delta sisters, the sorority Delta, my sister Melissa, she's a Delta. Her sorority chapter in St. Louis, I was able to help facilitate bringing them to St. Louis to talk about the Genesis case when it was really on everybody's mind. You know, this is the early days of social media. So you just had YouTube came out, in 2005? And you had MySpace. MySpace was what Facebook is today. MySpace was there. Because matter of fact, you know, I used to go on MySpace to get my guests a lot of times. But MySpace was the it thing, right? And Facebook was still starting. It was just a fledgling service. Now it's just a behemoth like Amazon. And they went to WashU. They spoke at Washington University. I was the moderator. I wish we would have recorded it. Nobody recorded that historic event. But they went in person to explain. I know that Dennis Kucinich, who was running for president or whatever he was running for, he wanted to speak, but they did not allow him to speak because they didn't want to politicize the event for any so-called presidential candidate. I don't know. Maybe if it was Obama, they might let him speak. I don't know. No, politics is interesting because it was already politics when them boys got in trouble. But I also, Dr. Karanja, the late, great Dr. Ajanaku Karanja, I think his name is Ajanaku Karanja, he just passed away. He was the editor of the Tri-State Defender, a black newspaper that still exists. It's not what it was back in his heyday, but he would offer me chances as a freelance journalist to write about the Genesis movement and to publish it in his paper. So I wrote several articles about Genesis, interviewing people like, you know, Marcus Jones and other folks who was involved. And also, commentary, people like Dr. Carol Swain, I think her name Dr. Carol Swain, out of Nashville. So, I mean, man, I ain't know what I was doing. I just got into some stuff. But, yeah, I started podcasting in 2007, right? So, you know, the Genesis happened. It came and went. A lot of controversy because, you know, the big media personality during that time was Michael Basin. Michael Basin was a real supporter of the Genesis movement. It's funny because it was the grassroots, actually. It was a radio personality from Louisiana, Tony Brown, not to be mistaken of Tony Brown's Journal. He actually helped, you know, organize stuff and made people aware through his radio platform, his talk show, his morning talk show platform. So that's why it's important to cultivate and support alternative black media, non-traditional voices, grassroots, organic black media voices, because the Genesis movement would not happen with NBC and CBS and all them getting behind it. It took black media to make it happen, to make people aware, to amplify it across the pond. Because, you know, the foreign press picked up on the Genesis before the so-called national press here, but it was the black media at the grassroots level that really elevated the Genesis movement. So there was a lot of fallout with that, like Michael Basin, Color of Change. Van Jones was a co-founder of Color of Change. And they was like, you know, this is before Black Lives Matter, right? Color of Change was before Black Lives Matter. I interviewed the co-founder of Color of Change about the controversy about donations and stuff like that. Then they were trying to Me Too Marcus Jones because he was too much of a strong, militant, masculine black man. They tried to have the women, and like one of the attorneys for the defendants claimed that he spit on her in the elevator. I don't believe that. I don't believe Marcus was a gentleman. He conducted himself as a gentleman to me. Always respectable brother, but people trying to utilize him for their own ends. I saw, you know, hanger-ons, and, you know, he got in with Sharpton and stuff like that. And you just didn't know who people were your friends, because people started being, you know, paying a lot of scrutiny to where the money was going, because a lot of money, once it got the national recognition, a lot of money was involved, right? So a lot of people was trying to follow the money trail and try to figure out who's getting what. But yeah, I was a part of that history, man. It's just funny looking, man. I can't believe it's been that long ago. It's 18 years ago. Because the march happened in September, it'd be 18 years when that happened. But the thing about Marcus Jones, we not bring him up. He's a good brother. He's no longer with us. It's very questionable circumstances, I may add. But he was the kid that told me I should interview Dick Gregory. He gave me Dick Gregory's contact information. And I called the number. It was a woman that answered like she was like the cleaner, the housekeeper or whatever. But I think it was his wife, Lil, because Dick says she's very shy. And sometimes she would pretend to be somebody else, but she was the woman that was responsible for booking Dick Gregory. If you wanted to talk to Dick Gregory, you had to go to Lil Gregory, Sister Lillian Gregory. She was, Dick would say two of the most powerful forces in American history is the black woman in the black church. And so he trusted her literally with his life. So she said, well, send us a fax, I said, okay. I didn't follow up until really 2011 because I wanted to read his autobiography. You all know that word, that thing, that end to the end. I had to read. I wanted to do my research and read his autobiography, which I did. I contacted him in early 2011. He accepted it, and I went from there. It was Brother Marcus Jones that encouraged me. And Brother Marcus Jones, he lived long enough to see his son graduate from Southern University with honors. Unfortunately, him and his son had a falling out. And several days later, after him seeing his son cross the stage, he was killed on the highway. He was ran over by a car or two or three or whatever. Allegedly, he was helping to do a street party or to feed the homeless. It was like something they was doing a block party and they wanted to feed the needy and all that stuff. And so they was gathering supplies for that. And he was riding in the back of the pickup truck to make sure that the supplies were secured, allegedly. And the guy, I think he got to his destination. He noticed that Marcus was not in the back of the pickup truck. So he went back on the highway. He was found on the highway. I don't know if he was dead at that point, but he was like, it was like a final destination thing. He got ran over by cars. Maybe one car, maybe more than one car, but he was ran over to the spot. And I always thought that was weird because I didn't know Marcus was dead. This is back in December of 2014 when he lost his life and became a righteous ancestor. But I didn't know he was dead until Dick Gregory died. When I started looking him up, I found out he'd been dead for almost 3 years. And it really surprised me. Because, but it is what it is. But that brother, I would never forget that brother, how he conducted himself as a man, as a father, as a rider for the people, man. He should never be forgotten because he was very upset that we didn't go far enough with the Gen 6 thing. He wanted to help black people all around the country. With his son, even though his son took a lot, was a sacrificial lamb, he didn't want his son and the other brothers suffering being in vain. He was trying to do something with Charles Hamilton Houston, the famous Harvard lawyer, law professor, and Black Panther. They wanted to take this case to the Supreme Court. They wanted to do what Thurgood and Charles Hamilton Houston. I said, wait a minute, what was the guy? I know I didn't call him Charles Hamilton Houston. What's his name? Charles Ogletree, right? Is it Charles Ogletree? I called him Charles Hamilton Houston. Lord, y'all gonna crucify me because y'all know how I do black content creators and stuff. We get stuff wrong. There's no mercy, but white folks get stuff wrong. Y'all, it's live. It's a live thing. People make mistakes. Before I knew that Negro can't be trusted, he got the name wrong. And Charles Ogletree died. Lord, he died 2 years ago. He died August 4th, 2023. But yeah, he was a law professor at Harvard Law School and a Black Panther. He was the founder of the Charles Hamilton Houston Institute for Race and Justice. Charles Hamilton Houston was the architect of what became known as Brown v. Board. He trained Thurgood Marshall. So Charles Ogletree, I didn't know he was an ancestor. It's been 2 years. Wow. Man, they be speaking to me, man. He died August 4th, 2023, 70 years old. He got 3 scores and 10. But I believe he was a Black Panther at one point. But he wanted to take this case to the Supreme Court. And I wish it would have happened, but, you had Al Sharpton and them involved in that stuff. A lot of politicizing and Michael Basin got drawn into it. It was a lot of this going, like divide and conquer stuff going on. And Al Sharpton, I always tell people, Al Sharpton is like the cooler. If y'all ever saw that movie, The Cooler it's a good movie. Look, watch the movie The Cooler. It stars William H. Macy as the Cooler. Co-star is Alec Baldwin. I think it's one of Alec's better movies. And William Macy was known as the Cooler because this is a movie set in Las Vegas in the casinos, right? When it was mob ran, and when you was on a Lucky Street, if you was like hot at the tables and stuff like that, the casino will bring along a person that will give you bad luck called the Cooler. It will cool you off, cool off your hot streak. So to me, Al Sharpton was the real life Cooler. They always bring in Al Sharpton to stop the revolution, to put the fire out. It's like he was in Mike Brown situation, the Mike Brown riots of 2014. I can't believe it's been over 10 years of Mike Brown. I was involved in that. I covered that as well. And they ran Jesse Jackson out of town. They booed and ran him out of town. They didn't really run Jesse out of town. We stayed at the same hotel, the Marriott near the airport. But they ran Jesse out and they embraced Al Sharpton. And Al Sharpton is there to cool things off. He's not there to provoke and invoke and inspire people to revolutionary mindset and the think and do. He's there to pacify, to cool things down. That's Al Sharpton's job. It's weird to me that Al Sharpton will be brought in to do people's eulogies. He never met these people in life. Why would you want somebody that never met your loved one in life to do their eulogy? He had no connection to these people. He knew them since they was kids, when they were drinking Similac in a Cadillac. But Al Sharpton ain't knocking the hustle, but Al Sharpton had 8 years of access to Obama. And what was done for black people? We know what was done for gay people, what was done for white people, women, Jews, all that stuff, and illegals. But what was done for black American natives under Obama's watch with Al Sharpton in his ear? Like I said, the Gen 6 movement could have really been a turning point for black America, black American natives, and America in general, but it was a wasted moment. But out of that, I formed a friendship with Brother Marcus Jones. I'll never forget that, brother. I will always shout out Marcus Jones to the day I die. And make sure y'all would know about him. If you access my material, you should, you'll be well aware of who he was. Had a chance to interview his mom about, I want to say 2017. And Marcus Jones was like a surprise baby. His brothers and sisters was way older than him. I think he had numerous brothers and sisters. His mom was not expecting him to come along, but she so much loved that boy. I believe he was her favorite child. She talked about how he had a fall down with his son, unfortunately, and how he passed away. She was so sad about it, and she just had her own theories about the situation. I actually interviewed Marcus Jones' mom. I'm gonna re-upload it to We All Be TV2 for y'all pleasure. And she probably passed on. I think because she told me if I ever came through to stop and visit her, I had never been down that way to Gina. And I don't know if she's alive, and I might want to check in on that. But yeah, but he got me on the Dick Gregory. I started interviewing Dick Gregory in 2011. But the thing about it is, Dick Gregory didn't start taking off. We did the Django review. I did that, and I released that back in January of 2013. It went woke viral. I didn't think nothing of it when I talked to Dick Gregory for about an hour. I thought it was just like, whatever, I'm going to put this out there. Not even think about it. I was like, he did Django review, da-da-da. Next thing I know, the day after I put it out there, I get a call from Dick Gregory. His wife is on the other end of the phone, Lil. And he was so happy. He said, yeah, have you heard, man? I said, what you talking about? Man, we went viral. It went viral. Yeah, man, I just want to thank you. Now you do all the thank you 3 times. He said, man, I got a call from Quentin Tarantino. I got a call from Jamie Foxx, yada, 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 Reginald Hudlin, and they was thanking me for my review, man. And you helped did it, man. You put that out. Yeah, that stuff was so viral, man. This is right before Obama's second inauguration. I had people call me all over the place. They were acting like they want to talk to me, but they really want to talk to Dick Gregory, and I understood the assignment. I overstood it. It's not about me. It's about Barbara. It's about talking, because people will say, well, Dick Gregory, I remember like the year before he died, he was in Kansas City. I saw him at the Kansas City Improv. And his family came from St. Louis. His brothers and their wives came. It was a family affair. And so he was surprised to see me. I remember I talked to him in the hotel room. I think I called him in my hotel room and talked to him on the phone. He said, man, I want to thank you. You know, so you made me more popular. Shows like yours made me more popular than I was in my prime. And Dick Gregory was a big deal back in the day. You know, this is when he had 3 networks. Dick Gregory was a big deal. He was the first comedian, really. I mean, he sat on the couch. The first black comedian on the Tonight Show when was Jack Parr, not Johnny Carson hosting. He started that tradition. And he was one of the highly paid entertainers in the country before he started getting committed to the movement. But he said, man, you reintroduced me. You know, I introduced him. Shows like mine, but I really was the first. You know, I give credit to other cats and stuff like that, but I really set the table for everybody to eat. You know, so I was the first person to really start interviewing Dick on a regular basis and introducing him to a social media audience. And he always credited me with that. I got that in audio tapes and all that stuff. And he was so thankful because he was able to eat. You know, you got reintroduced to a new generation of folk. And he was so grateful. I just I didn't know what I was doing, man. That's how history really happened. I don't know the effects, the power of what I did. I didn't know that when I started podcasting back in January 2007, that would lead me to get connecting with Dick Gregory and being his friend for 6 years. Somebody that will drive around the country to interview him like a maniac, you know, just driving around, just, you know, getting these audio crumbs and stuff. People criticizing the quality of the audio, but it is what it is. I mean, I got hours and hours of Dick Gregory. And with the help of AI, I'm actually restoring some of the audio and making it better quality. So, you know, whatever. But I probably got some unreleased Dick Gregory. People ask me about that, you know, but why should I release it? But anyway, I ate y'all. I'm the feeder. I fed y'all enough. Y'all got fed off of it. You know, it's like, but it's interesting because even with Judge Joe Brown, the same thing. I interviewed Judge. I met Judge Joe Brown at Ernestine's and Hazel, which is not far from where I live right now. That's on Main Street. He was running for DA. This is back in 2014 when his show didn't get renewed. The Judge Joe Brown TV show did not get renewed. I met him in the spring of 2014 campaigning. And I told him, man, Judge, I want to interview you. How'd I do? He said, well, talk to my press person. Talk to her. Talk to my press person. You know, okay. Yes, sir. So I talked to the press person. I interviewed him. You know, it went pretty well. And I started interviewing some more over the years. That's 2014, y'all. So I got a lot of Judge Joe Brown. I have not interviewed him recently. Y'all can still see Judge, though. He's all up on Dana with the data. That's his roadie now. They real tight like that, you know. So that's his, no, whatever. No, it was an error. But I had access to Judge Joe Brown. You know, took him to Olive Garden and we talked, and you know, I got all this Judge Joe Brown footage, but nobody was checking for Judge Joe Brown at the beginning like that. But it was me that introduced him to social media. And then, like, you saw the power he had, the effect he had last year on the 2024 presidential campaign. But it was we all be that put him in the game. So, you know, people can say what they want, but man, I'm gonna tout my victories. I'm gonna talk about it. Because, like, you know, like I said, I went to the podcast summit. Many folks ain't been in the game longer than me, and they eating good. They got 6-7 figures they're making. Not saying I'm doing it for the money, but a brother, you know, it's a struggle, man. Because I didn't do it for the money. Because, like, you know, people don't understand. A lot of folks were able to get to Dick Gregory and Judge Joe Brown because I was willing to share their contact information. I will ask Judge so-and-so want to speak with you. You want to talk? Yeah, go ahead. Give them my number. I connected people. I didn't look for nothing. I didn't get no payment or compensation for that. Same thing with Dick Gregory. I will freely share his information. Sometimes Lil will call me saying, Ron, stop giving them his phone. Stop giving away the contact number. I'm saying, ma'am, it wasn't me. I'm like Shaggy. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was me. Because, like, some of the stuff I would do would go viral. Like, even Dick Greg would tell MLK the third, man, you need to talk to him. Stuff would go viral. And it did went viral. And, you know, and Dick was able to eat. You know, he was able to do his comedy tours because his popularity on social media. And I helped lit that spark. And so, you know, same thing with Judge. But I'm saying I'm thankful that God used, because Dick would tell me sometimes when the universe, God chooses you, he leaves no evidence. It leaves no evidence, no fingerprints that you actually existed. So, you know, I've been through spiritual warfare is real. I've been through a struggle. Like I had my channel, my We All Be TV channel that did so much history making turns. YouTube, YT, they have, undermined. They removed videos I did with Dick Gregory, Judge Joe Brown, Dr. Randy Short. They removed historical videos I did as far as investigating journalism on things that still happen to Black people. They removed a lot of my videos and they demonetized me 2 years ago. So they ain't want me to make money, yet people have, re-uploaded, cut up videos that I had to drive around for hours at a time across the country, literally. Had to get cursed out for, and people making they eating. And I mean, I ain't mad at you. But when you the pioneer of something, sometimes your story get lost in all this stuff. It get lost in the sauce. And this time around, it took me a minute, but I'm back. I'm being consistent with the podcast. I'm being consistent with a lot of things. I'm re-uploading videos that I forget I did, that people may have, never seen before, because I have thousands of videos out on my We All Be TV channel, but I'm slowly moving things to We All Be TV too. Y'all need to subscribe to this channel that I'm doing this live from, and also Rumble TV or rumble.com/We All Be TV. That's rumble.com/We All Be TV. Y'all can just hook me up there. But I'm trying different ways, and I'm doing the shorts. I'm having some success with the short clips, because like what's happening is that they're really dumbing us down. Y'all think y'all woke, but y'all really sleepwalking, because they dumbing us down. They're making us TikTok brain. Making us TikTok brain. When I'm saying TikTok brain, I'm talking about they're making it hard for us to focus and concentrate and really to think. When I was growing up, I could read a 300-page book in one day. I used to go through encyclopedia sets and stuff like that. Now I struggle to read 3 pages. It's a struggle to read 3 pages, and that's the way they control us, because they don't want us to read and digest. They want us to always be on the go, never slow down, never sit still, never meditate. It's always like you got to go, 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 go. And the more you go, because people always talking about chasing this, chasing the bag, chasing this, chasing that. Powerful people don't chase nothing. Powerful people don't chase sugar, honey, iced tea. Powerful people don't chase the bag because they know they the prize. They don't work for their money. Their money work for them. Majority of us, we chasing stuff and we still not fulfilled. We still not happy. We get all these things and we still have a void. So it's something to be said about that. So I remember Dick Gregory said something, man, people talking about they worry about their bills and all that stuff. He said, man, all you need is oxygen and some water to survive. Y'all talking about bills, bills, bills. Can you pay my bills? Shit, Elon Musk got bills. Bill Gates got bills. Warren Buffett got bills. You think they sweating about a bill? Wealthy people, they don't mind going to debt for a good cause. But the reason why they don't mind going into debt, because it's not their debt. It's not their money they're using. They're using our money. We keep monies up in banks and stuff and saving accounts and stuff. And they draw interest, and the banks use our money to make more money, but they won't give you a loan. I have met people that have done business in banks where they have been banking with a certain institution for decades and putting their money in there and everything, payroll, whatever. And when it comes time for a loan, they will deny the loan. I mean, you banking with an institution for 40 years, they deny you a loan? And yet, make it make sense. You got immigrants coming in. They can have a driver license. You got immigrants that can even be police officers before they citizens in some places like California. From my understanding, I don't know if it's true, y'all. Just look it up. Stop trusting a black man. Y'all know y'all don't trust me. So since you don't trust me, use your smartphone to smarten up a little bit and research the stuff. You got folks getting homes and stuff, don't got social security numbers, allegedly. But anyway, what an interesting conundrum. So this is where we at. Thank you, Spirit of Justice. One love, baby. Janika. Thank you. Bars and bars and bars. Okay. Joe Rogan still talks about Dick Gregory. I mean, of course, Dick Gregory is like more powerful as a righteous ancestor. You know, people ask me, do I miss Dick Gregory a lot? I said, I don't miss it. He talked to me every day. The dead will talk to you if you pay attention. Sometimes it's through a song, through a movie, through other people. The dead will talk to you. They remind you of stuff, you know. So Dick Gregory is always with me, man. And it's a blessing because Dick opened a lot of doors for me. Now is my time to walk through them doors and keep them open. And that's very important. So with that said, let's move on. I think I talked enough, you know, cause it's more important because I learned from the podcast summit when I went there. They said it's not about perfection. It's about doing stuff. Like people don't do anything because they fear they fail. You don't fail unless you stop trying. The only way you can fail at anything is if you stop trying. So the process of doing is the most important thing to success in anything. You know, people will tell you that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. No, that's the definition of practice. You know, you learn through repetition and by being consistent. You know, I think about Charlie Parker. I look at August as Black August. It's an unofficial Black History Month. You know, a lot of amazing people were born this month. A lot of amazing Black revolutionary things happening this month. And I think about the revolutionary birth of Charlie Parker, who was born on August 29th. He was born on August the 29th, like Michael Jackson and Dinah Washington. These are the GOATs, right? August the 29th is the birthday of the GOATs. And Charlie Parker was asked by Paul Desmond on a radio show in Boston like a year or so before he died, how did he become so great? Was he born a genius? Like, how did he do it? And you got to listen to Charlie Parker. I love listening to his voice because he sounds like a very well-read, educated college professor. And this man, he dropped out of high school. He said, well, Paul, it wasn't like that. Basically what I did is that I practiced my saxophone for 11 to 15 hours a day for 3 to 4 years. And it drove the neighbors mad. Imagine doing something for 15 hours a day for 4 years. It's like we all got 24 hours. What you doing with your 24 hours? This dude spent 11 to 15 hours practicing on his saxophone for 4 years. They said it takes 10,000 hours to master something. This man spent 15 hours out of a 24-hour day for 4 years practicing on his saxophone. How could he fail? He couldn't fail. But what white folks want you to think, you know, with the Bird movie and stuff, he was a junkie. His superpower came from being a junkie. No, it did not. What happened to Charlie Parker was when he was a teenager, he got into a real bad car accident in the Ozarks, lost his best friend. His body was broken up real bad, so the hospital gave him heroin, morphine, heroin, whatever. Gave him a lot of it, and he got addicted to it. That's the guy he got hooked on heroin and morphine because they gave all that stuff to him in the hospital. They didn't have no detox programs and stuff like that, to my understanding. They ain't have no Alcoholics Anonymous. This man kicked this heroin habit by drinking a gallon of wine a day. This man would drink a gallon of wine a day. Charlie Parker, what the hell, man? I mean, I love Charlie Parker. Listen to Charlie Parker, man. Listen to him in interviews. Brilliant dude. Listen to his music. Amazing music. But he wasn't meant for a regular existence. No, he burnt out real fast, right? But he left a lasting legacy. I mean, Charlie Parker was amazing. And I wish he would have lived longer because no telling. Because you look at like Duke Ellington. If Duke Ellington died at 34, what would Duke Ellington have? Duke Ellington's most important works came after his 40s. His suites like Black, Brown, and Beige, and him working with Jimmy Blanton and Ben Webster. The great Jimmy Blanton did for jazz bass what Jimi Hendrix did for jazz guitar. For rock guitar, excuse me. And Jimmy Blanton didn't even make it to 25. And he was from Chattanooga, with Tennessee State. He played there. But the man was amazing. Listen to Coco with Duke Ellington and Jack the Bear. And I'm weird like that because what I'll be listening to on the recordings is Jimmy Blanton. I listen to his bass sound. Try to isolate his bass from everything else, and it's amazing. It's like perfection in itself. Like the way he played the bass, just isolate all the other music. And Duke, he made full use of that. But Jimmy Blanton was a bad, bad man, and he existed around the same time as Charlie Christian, another great and jazz guitar virtuoso, who didn't make it to his 30 either. He didn't make it to 30, but he was brilliant. He was a childhood friend of Ralph Ellison, the man who wrote The Invisible Man. If you never read the novel, you need to read the novel, The Invisible Man. It still holds up today. It still holds up today. So, with that said, what am I talking about here? What is he talking about here? Well, I don't really know. But let's talk about Trump, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about Trump. Let's talk about Trump. Let's talk about Trump. Let's talk about Trump. Okay, let's talk about Trump. Not too much of a deep dive. I think y'all can hear me. Let me know if you can't hear me, if you can. But let's talk about him deploying the National Guard to D.C. Capitol and also taking over the D.C. police. This is what I think about it. Bravo, Mr. President. Bravo, Mr. Orange Man. You're doing it. You're doing it and doing it well. Uh-oh. Am I having a problem with my mic? I'm coming loud and clear. He's doing it, and doing it well. All right. He came on through. Trump is Mussolini in his mother. He challenged his inner Mussolini. Mussolini, the mafia was afraid of Mussolini. Y'all know that? The mafia in Sicily and Italy, they were so afraid of Mussolini because he had the mafiosi guys that y'all be worshiping. He had them in like cages like zoo animals and stuff. Mussolini wasn't playing around. Trumpolini ain't playing around right now. Trump ain't playing around, man. Trump ain't playing around. And I'm glad he did that because I think it's weird. I don't know if y'all think, but why is it that we got crime in D.C., period? Why is there crime in D.C.? Why is it that you got to be afraid of your life in D.C. just blocks away from the White House? But the biggest crime really ain't street crime, is government crime. That's the thing. You need a National Guard inside the Capitol building. That's why all the crime is going down, I think my mic is working. Oh, Lord, help us all. But that's the real crime is happening in legislation. Legislature. You remember what was going on in the country 100 years ago? This thing called prohibition. I always want to look back, like when people talk about how things are now, how was things 100 years ago in the country? That's 4 years before the stock market crash, right? So you had prohibition. Prohibition created organized crime. Lucky Luciano and Al Capone did not create organized crime. Uncle Sam is the real godfather. He created organized crime, his cronies, the politicians. It was a very unpopular law. People love to drink. So like Al Capone said, he was just supplying a demand. People wanted to drink. It's kind of like the Puffy thing. It's like, you're going to get them for the Mann Act. A lot of people in America are violating the Mann Act. For example, if I get an Uber to pick a girl from South Haven, Mississippi or Olive Branch, Mississippi, and have her brought to Memphis, and we do some polka, hokey pokey. We doing a hokey pokey, and I'm not violating the Mann Act, transporting a woman across state lines for immoral purposes. Whether you flew out a person, whether you flew somebody out to your town in your state from a different state, and y'all be doing some sexual healing. Is that not violating the Mann Act? See what I'm saying? This stuff is ridiculous. People don't be thinking like, what? So they did all that to get Diddy on some prostitution charges. Like he was picking up a girl from Lamar. I mean, in Memphis, we got the strip, the track is on Lamar. Folks from Memphis know what I'm talking about. So they got Diddy on some stuff like that, some prostitute. They spend millions and millions of dollars. Now they spend millions and millions of dollars to get the evidence of his blackmail operation. They spend millions and millions of dollars to protect the rich and powerful and wealthy and influential from facing any type of public scrutiny. It wasn't about Diddy. It was about what he recorded at his homes, in hotel rooms doing the freak offs. It's like Hugh Hefner was like Jeffrey Epstein. But yet Hugh Hefner was not even, Bill Cosby met a lot of some of them girls at the Playboy Mansion. They had allegedly underage girls at the Playboy Mansion. And Hugh Hefner died right after Dick Gregory. See, one thing about Hugh Hefner and Quincy Jones and some other folks, they know when to leave the party. They know when to leave the party. Like you got to leave. Like Cat Williams said, you got to know to say no. You know what I'm saying? Puffy loves the party. Diddy wants the party. You got to say no, baby. A lot of folks don't know the power of the no. But at the same time, when you say that, you get alienated. You're not invited to the parties no more. So you get no more roles. You get no more contracts or no more tour dates and all that. So it's this bigger than Diddy. But the thing about it was never about right or wrong or morality. It was about, it was a humiliation ritual. It was to humiliate Diddy, let him know who the bosses are, and also to get all that evidence from his house and from his homes to protect the powerful and guilty. That was about. But getting back to the Trump thing, I think it's a great idea what he's doing, because it gotta be, the nation's capital shouldn't be ridden with crime. It should be like all this street crime. DC got too many cameras. DC is one of the most video surveyed. A lot of video surveillance in DC. They could get you on camera for jaywalking. They got cameras on the expressway or whatever. So why is there crime? You got the headquarters of the CIA and the FBI and the Homeland Security, National Security, Pentagon. They all in the DC area. Why is there all this rampant crime? Because what Malcolm understood, this is what y'all got to understand. I'm trying to break it down to y'all. Where there's law enforcement, where there's a big law enforcement presence, this is where all the crime at. Where the police are at, this is where all the crime. Where you got all the police, this is where all the crime is, because the crime is controlled. It's organized. It's organized. You look at New Orleans back in the 90s and 2000s, the police was a hitman and everything. They was on the payrolls of big-time drug dealers and stuff. They was on the tape. The guy who escaped from the New Orleans prison, one of those guys, his grandmother was killed by a crooked cop. He sent one of his hitters to kill her because he complained about what was going on in her neighborhood as a good Samaritan and as a person that was for her community. She was outspoken. She was a beautiful young Black grandmother. She was killed on the orders of Officer Lynn Davis. Look up Lynn Davis. His sentence was commuted from death to life imprisonment by President Joe Biden. You got cops like that. Hitters, man. I'm in Memphis, man. Tyree Nichols ain't even the tip of the iceberg, man. You got cops that's killing people, kidnapping people, and killing folks. Y'all talking about some law and order, man. Look, organized crime is a government tool. You can't help crime without government consent. Police are policy enforcers. Police equals policy. They enforce the policy. They protect and serve the interests of the state. They don't protect and serve the interests of the people. They protect and serve the interests of the state. You don't count if you don't own stuff like George Carlin, the great comedian, one of my favorite comedians of all time. This is a ownership society. If you don't own stuff, you don't matter. It's just like I'll look at the Black Sox scandal of 1919. We had like 8 White Sox baseball players, including allegedly Shoeless Joe Jackson. And really, that's up for debate because Shoeless Joe Jackson hit like 375 in the World Series. What game was he throwing? That man was playing MVP level baseball. But my thing is, the reason why the players allegedly threw the World Series was because they was not getting paid properly by their owner, Charles Comiskey. Now, these are white men being treated like indentured servants in a very popular sport. You know, it ain't been that long ago since these folks started making money off of sports. I'm talking about the athletes, the people that produce the product. You know, you had still Jim Brownstown cats was getting jobs in the off season to support themselves and their family. They were making millions of dollars. You know, and you look at the free agency thing with Kurt Flood in baseball, and I'm glad that people are finally honoring the sacrifices of Oscar Robertson, the big O. Oscar Robertson, no disrespect to Jerry West, should have been the logo for the NBA. Oscar Robertson was blackballed because he was an advocate for free agency for basketball players. He paid the price. No, he was too damn good for them to shut him out away. Oscar Robertson has one of the highest basketball IQs in the history of the game. Was a brilliant college player when he played for Cincinnati, and he was brilliant in the pros, but he was outspoken, and he was kind of like Ali in that way. And they tried to shut Oscar Robertson down. So you never heard about Oscar Robertson. I always thought it was weird. Why wasn't Oscar Robertson a general manager for an NBA team? Why wasn't he a head coach for an NBA team or even a part owner? From my understanding, now you know why. But ESPN had to give it to him because you know why? Because he lived too long not to be acknowledged for what he contributed. That's why the NBA is a players' league. That's why you can have LeBron, you know, choose to go whatever and play with his best buddies wherever they want because of the sacrifices of a man like Oscar Robertson and even Kurt Flood. And that should be noted. And I guess this may be included in the short after the show. But getting back to Trump. Trump is doing what Trump's supposed to be doing. I voted for Trump for 3 times straight, and I lost so many friends. Even my childhood pastor disowned me, and I under this man for I had to spend thousands of dollars at the Orpheum honoring his legacy as a gospel music producing genius. This is Reverend Juan D. Ship. It bothers him. A man that baptized me now. Think about this man baptized me, was a childhood pastor. It bothered him that I voted for Trump 3 times. He think I'm the biggest idiot and all this. He's so disrespectful to Trump supporters. But it's not about Trump. It's because I want to see a change in my lifetime. I want to see black folks win. And the only way we're going to win, we got to get ourselves in the game by any means necessary. This is not about political parties. This is about I want my people to get some stuff. I want to be a problem for people that think it's not a problem to be complacent and compliant and submissive in a system that does not respect the dignity, humanity, integrity, and the contributions of black folk. This country would not be anything without black people's participation. And I know that better than anybody. And I study it. And it never ceases to amaze me when I find something new about black history that they did not want us to teach about black American natives. That, yeah, this country ain't nothing without black American natives. This country ain't, people talking about immigrants and people talking about this and that. Black American natives, we are the crucial ingredient to making this country great or honor what it's supposed to be honoring in their words. We are the key to that. You know, you don't have women's suffrage without black men suffering during the Civil War, fighting for their own freedom. You don't have women's suffrage. You don't have LGBTQ gains. You don't have gay marriage. You don't have anything without black American natives fighting for their own lives. We literally put our lives on the line for everybody else's benefit. But how does it benefit us? And that got to change their thinking. That means we got to get out that Democratic plantation. Not necessarily go to Republican plantation, but y'all got to remember, a lot of them key civil rights bills of the 60s could not get passed without Republicans helping. You had a lot of Dixiecrats and Democrats. You had Robert Byrd from West Virginia, the longtime senator who was a grand wizard or imperial wizard of the West Virginia Ku Klux Klan. They did not want to see us win. So the party did not change over. The Democrats founded the Klan. How was there a switch? Democrats always been Democrats. I'm in Memphis. Nathan Bedford Forrest, the first grand wizard of the Klan, prominent slave trader, war criminal, Fort Pillow massacre, April the 12th, 1864. Remember, Fort Pillow was a proud Democrat and a delegate at the 1868 Democratic Convention. So you tell that to somebody else, I don't have to deal with this. I don't have to deal with this. And I refuse to defend myself against people because, like Dick Gregory said, my truth does not need to be validated by your ignorance. So I said that. Yeah, I said that. I don't really care. I'm not liked anyway. Either side of my family don't really understand me, and that's okay. Because most time when you great, they ain't gonna get you anyway until later. You know, when you polarizing, that's a sign of greatness. Trump is very polarizing. Because when people know how they feel about you, that means you making an impact for better or for worse. Trump is making an impact. He's delivering. People talking about Epstein files, those are coming. And quite frankly, by looking at the flight logs, that's your Epstein files. Whoever flew to and from Epstein Island, that's the list. Don't need no grand jury transcripts unleashed and all this stuff. Just look, the list is the flight log. Just give us all the flight logs. And I don't really care for it because it's white on white crime. You know, that's something that they always do. My thing is, you talk about Epstein, a man. What about the institutions that produce an Epstein? What about the Mossad? What about the Ivy League? What about the CIA? What about these entities? Wall Street. What about them? They produce a Jeffrey Epstein. What about that? What about the fact that William Barr, that's his name? There was Trump Attorney General. I think it's William Barr, right? Let me just look this up right quick. Yeah, William Barr daddy hired Jeffrey Epstein at the Dalton School. He gave Jeffrey Epstein a job at the Dalton School. William Barr's daddy? Who is William Barr's daddy? His daddy is Donald Barr. He was in the Office of Strategic Services as well as the CIA. So Jeffrey Epstein was recruited by the CIA via William Barr's father, Donald Barr, who was the headmaster at Dalton School. You know, yeah, the CIA, Jeffrey Epstein is a product of the CIA. Jeffrey Epstein is a product of the government. See, this was the problem with y'all. Y'all can't put, it's like y'all need a Scooby-Doo mystery van people to help y'all put the, are you Shaggy? Jeffrey Epstein? Y'all need people to connect the dots. It's always government involved. It's like with Jimmy Hoffa. I'm gonna have a guy on, a black man named Michael Yarbrough. He's gonna be on my show hopefully next week. I talked to him today. He allegedly saw Jimmy Hoffa put into concrete and buried alive at the Renaissance Center. There's a running joke that said that Jimmy Hoffa is buried in the concrete foundation of the Renaissance Center, downtown Detroit. This man is an 18-year-old looking for work back on July 31st, 1975. He allegedly saw a man that resembled Jimmy Hoffa in stature and facial features screaming for help while they were about to throw him into into concrete and bury concrete over him while he was alive. They basically allegedly buried Jimmy Hoffa alive in concrete. It was a brother that saw this, and he had to run for his life. I heard that story on different platforms he told. Like I told him, man, you are one heck of a storyteller. And I want to believe you because it sounds so credible. But I also know you got an acting background. But I also know you in law enforcement, or you were in law enforcement. We had a good conversation, but he was willing to do the show. And I think people need to hear that because they got you thinking that, Jimmy Hoffa got transported to New Jersey or the Irishman. I don't believe that he ever left the Detroit area. I believe they got rid of his body in Detroit, in the area. Why you gonna take it all the way to New Jersey for? Whether he been cremated or made into a steel bumper or whatever, I actually believe that the FBI is weird. They actually know not only do they know what happened to Jimmy Hoffa, they know where his remains are. I believe that because the FBI is weird because they'll get these leads. You people say, well, he was buried on a horse farm. The guy who witnessed Jimmy Hoffa allegedly being buried on a horse farm, he drew a map for the FBI to follow. The FBI, they went to the horse farm. They spent millions and millions of dollars on taxpayer money, but guess what they did? They misread the map that the guy gave them. They didn't read the map the right way. So they dug in the wrong spot. They did it again a couple years ago in New Jersey. they dug in the wrong spot. Why is they getting all these leads and they digging in the wrong spots? Spending millions and millions of dollars digging in the wrong spot. You know, Jimmy Hoffa's son was Teamster president for 25 years, way longer than his father. His daughter was a circuit court judge out of St. Louis. So his family was a very accomplished family. I know he loved his family, so I don't believe he faked his death, but they got rid of Jimmy Hoffa because Jimmy Hoffa wouldn't back down. He had a backbone. They won't say he's a puppet, but he actually stood up against the mob. He allowed the mob to use the pension fund to build Las Vegas, but they paid it back with interest. The mob did not rob the union. They paid it back with interest. Jimmy made sure they paid it back with interest, but when Jimmy Hoffa went to prison for several years doing federal time, they let Frank Fitzsimmons come in, and he couldn't tell him no. It's like if Diddy wanted him to party, he got to say yes. Oh, yes, okay, Diddy, I'll party with you, son. I'll party with you, color guy. Okay, no problem. Zippity doo dah, zippity yay. So my thing is, Jimmy Hoffa said, not only I'm gonna tell you no, I'm gonna kick y'all out the union. And Jimmy had to go. See, well, y'all don't understand. I'm 45 years old. I now realize that you get warning. Before somebody do something to you, God will send you warnings through people and through your intuition to your discernment. Like people say, I didn't know that Jimmy was warned. Hey, guy, you want to step back, Jimmy? Because they will give him millions of dollars. Say, Jimmy, look, take these millions of dollars and go sit somewhere and enjoy your family. Don't worry about being Teamsters president. No, your time has passed, but we'll give you as a severance package millions of dollars. And Jimmy said, F that, I want back in the union. Because I believe he did care about the working man. And you look at what happened. The Democrats sold out the union labor movement back in 99, right? They went for the NAFTA trade agreement under Bill Clinton, a Democrat. So they sold out the people. And Jimmy Hoffa was in the way. And also I would say this, Walter Reuther. Look at Walter Reuther. He was the CEO of the United Auto Workers. Look what they did to him. He was a friend of Dr. King and the civil rights movement. He put a lot of money and stuff and resources into the movement. He was a friend of the movement, of the Negro. Walter Reuther, they tried to assassinate Walter Reuther several times. Then I believe it was in May of 1970. His airplane went down in great balls of fire. Like everybody was toasted and roasted on the plane, including his wife and his bodyguard and the pilot. And the National Transportation Board, whatever, they investigated it. Now, mind you, they said it was an accident. They don't know what happened. But they also noted, I'm going to tell you this, y'all look this up, that there were plane parts missing. And there were plane parts put in wrong places. So somebody actually, checked out their plane before it left the airfield or whatever, the airport. That mean they missing airplane parts on the plane. That mean they also missed the fact that there were plane parts put in wrong places. And then you wonder why he got killed. And you wonder why, how's that an accident? Because I don't believe in aviation accidents. I don't, because they are very rare because they do a lot of checking. But I remember checking out, I think an interview that Rakim, the rapper, one of the all-time great rappers, the GOAT, he has a fear of flying planes. The reason why he has a fear of flying planes is because his father used to work on planes at the airport, whatever. And his father would have horror stories about the condition of the planes. So he had firsthand knowledge about how they do these planes. And you look at what's going on now this year with the plane, all these malfunctions. But, you had whistleblowers with Boeing. They deleted some dude that was giving a deposition about Boeing. They deleted a couple of people. See, we don't want to talk about stuff, man. We got to testify. Truth telling is dangerous. It's more dangerous being a truth teller than it is being a gangster rapper. And we lost a gangster rapper in Memphis. Saturday, man, it was caught on ring camera. They lit that dude up like he was fireworks on the 4th of July. So, what can you do about it? What can you do? But getting back to Trump, I know I keep on saying I'm going to go back to Trump. Okay, getting back to Trump. He's doing the right thing because, what's happened over the last 50, 60 years, this is the outcome you get when you destroy the family from within. When you destroy the nuclear family, this is what you get. The government knew what it was doing. The Great Society program, all these benefits, you get welfare. Women could get welfare as long as the man was not in the home. So you got a woman with all these kids. There's no structure. There's no father figure. There's no patriarch in their home to organize the discipline. So now you have what you have. You have the hood rat, which was a government invention. The hood rat does not exist in nature. Crackheads does not exist in nature. The government helped create all that. Broken homes, all that stuff. Fatherless homes. It's interesting. But government talking about family values, but you sending boys and teenagers and stuff to die in war. You sending fathers off the war, husbands off the war, questionable wars, because wars are not fought for morality. Wars are fought for profit. Wars are fought for control of other people's resources. Wars are not fight. It's not honorable. And you get this from no less authority than General Smedley Butler, the most decorated Marine in U.S. history, the fighting Quaker from Philadelphia, who said war is a racket. He exposed the Wall Street scandal, like the Wall Street conspiracy, where they wanted to overthrow the government and replace Franklin Roosevelt, the sitting president, with General Douglas MacArthur. Or maybe not, they want to replace him with Smedley Butler, because Smedley Butler was a patriot. He was well respected among the military brass. And instead of him helping in a coup d'etat of the government, he went to the press and to Congress to talk about how these Wall Street banksters were trying to get him to conspire to overthrow the government. And people thought it was an urban legend, but this is real. So you got to understand, these Wall Street financiers also financed Hitler and the Nazi Party. You got Prescott Bush. That's George H.W. Bush father, George W. Bush father, deep in that. They helped finance the Nazis. You had Henry Ford making vehicles and stuff for Adolf Hitler. You also had the guys who found the Adidas and BMW, Mercedes, what else? Hugo Boss making the uniform. I mean, capitalism is the name of the game, not morality. So let me get back to Trump. I know I'm going all over the place, but getting back to Trump, what he's doing right, because you look at these Democratic-led cities, like he said in his first election campaign, what do you have to lose voting for me? Look at how the Democrats have ran these cities to the ground. I live in a Democratic-controlled plantation known as Memphis. I look at the quality of the education, the quality of the streets, and the mentality of the people in Memphis. Change got to come, man, by any means, but we got to get rid of this plantation groupthink, Stockholm syndrome that we got as a people, and bring it on. And Trump, he's actually, saying he's for people being able to live in their neighborhoods and not fear going outside. I'm for that too. And I don't, people got the wrong idea. He can't, people always got criticisms of him, but he's doing what he said he's going to do, and people want more. He really puts Obama to shame, because Obama could have did a lot more for the people. And yeah, he chose to do what he did because he's a industry plant. Y'all always talking about musicians. I don't care about if Sexy Red and Drake industry plant. Obama's an industry plant. He's an actor. He's a CIA asset. His whole backstory is suspect. His whole backstory is suspect. That's a bar, ain't it? As y'all say, that's a bar. His whole backstory is suspect. Bars. Okay. So with that said, here we are. The world's a stage. The world is WWE. Well, let's get ready to rumble. That's where we are. This is who we are. This is where we are. So what Trump doing is needed, man. Because like I said, organized crime can't be organized without government facilitation and participation. I remember I read an article from a Chicago magazine or whatever. They talked about how the Sinaloa cartel, that's El Chapo's people, they made a deal with the DEA. DEA said, look, we'll allow y'all to control the drug trading in Chicago, like a large percentage of a certain type of narcotic, if y'all become our informants. allegedly the DA made a deal with the Sinaloa cartel. Y'all be talking about Pablo Escobar. Yeah, he blew up some commercial airliners. Yeah, he was killing judges and police and all that. But he's not bigger than the government. He's not bigger than the U.S. government. They took out Pablo Escobar. They took out Al Capone for income taxes. And y'all talking about the mob did this. The mob can't do nothing without government unless the government condones it, allows it. The mob ain't what y'all think it is. The real mob is the government. That's the real mob. That's the real. Uncle Sam is a godfather. He ain't Lucky Luciano. He ain't Al Capone. He ain't John Gotti. He ain't Pablo Escobar. He ain't El Chapo. Trump let you know right now what time it is. He ain't checking in with no Big U, Big Messi. He's not checking in with them folks. Black folks, we are so willing to shortchange ourselves. It's ridiculous. Black people are the only people I think they say they're afraid of power. Black folks say, man, he can't do nothing because he's black. I said, he's the most powerful man in the world, ain't he? Well, no, he black. He can't do nothing. Black is the color of the universe. Everything manifests out the blackness. Rainbow, all the colors come out the blackness. What the hell y'all talking about? Black is scary. Black is weak. Black is inferior. Black is the color of God. The hell y'all talking about with this knowledge? Like, oh man, you black, man, you can't do nothing. You black, they know you could do it, but they got you trained like that elephant that was it was tied to that spike in the ground since it was a baby elephant. They become big and strong, and they don't have to do anything but tied to that spike in the ground and won't do nothing. That's how black people are. Black people, like, we the biggest, strongest athletes and all that. We could bench press. You got Miles Garrett, all these muscles, people like him, but yet we afraid to move a muscle for our liberation as a people. We'll entertain for a fee. We like train animals in the circus, but other than that, these muscles are not for liberation. These muscles are for entertainment. You break your body in hell for a couple of $1 million, but you won't break their face in hell for freedom. So the thing about it is, yeah, it's necessary what Trump is doing. Because he's trying to reestablish the conversation with the people. Yeah, wait a minute, y'all mind. Y'all think y'all gonna get away with all this? Nobody. No, we ain't having that. We're not having that. And I'm glad it is happening because people talk about no King Day. You damn right it's no king. They killed Dr. King. They killed A.D. King. America don't want no kings. They don't want no Dr. King, no Dr. Michael King, Martin King. They don't want no A.D. King. They don't want no Rodney King. They kill kings here. You're right. We don't want no king. But Trump ain't a king. Trump is more of a time traveler than he is a king. Trump already seen this play. And he playing his part. The world's the stage. The world's WWE. There's no coincidence that Trump was a part of WWE. Ain't no coincidence that Vince McMahon's wife is over the Department of Education. Miseducation, misdirection, undereducation. The greatest crime being committed in America is not releasing the Epstein files. It's the undereducating of America's masses. We're going back to the dark ages. How is that we're going, we're progressing technology-wise, but mentally we're going back to the dark ages. People are so dumbed down. TikTok brain, you can't read a book. You can't process information. You're not allowed to critical think, to reassess. Everything, they overwhelm you with the oohs and the ahs. People are functionally illiterate now. The only people that could read during the dark ages or the middle ages, whatever, were the elites, the clergy, noble people, royalty, whatever. Majority of people were illiterate. I think that's one of the reasons why they made stained glass windows back in the day, because you couldn't read the Bible, but you could see the Bible in the artwork in the stained glass, allegedly. So this is what they're doing now, because even when you think about it, they're taking out cursive handwriting. People doing a lot of shorthand and emojis with text. They don't know how to spell words properly. Grammar, syntax, all that stuff is out the window. So really, we like a Tower of Babel right now. We don't even understand each other, and we get mad because we taking things out of context. It's like when somebody read a text messages, you don't know what they mean. They can mean, I hate you. And they type all caps. And you think they hate me or are they joking? You don't know how to read that. Then you got Chat GBT. Why you need a memory when you got Chat GBT? They can reinvent, they can Mandela affect your reality. They can Mandela affect your reality. They reinventing history as we speak. I remember Bill Gates purchased he purchased a big photo archive some years back. Let's see, I forgot which one it was. I'm just typing it up on my smartphone. Yeah, in 1995, Corbis, a company owned by Bill Gates, acquired the Bettman Archive, a vast collection of historical photographs. The archive contains over 16 million images, was purchased from Cross Organization Limited. Corbis, founded in 1989, aimed to digitize and license images, and the Bettman Archive significantly expanded its digital holdings. The archive included collections from various news agencies, including the entire United Press International Collection. Bill Gates made that gangster move back in 1995, 30 years ago. He did that so he could control history. By him controlling all them images like that, he can curate the historical narrative. And that was Dr. Bill Cosby was trying to tell my people. I love my people in Charleston, my French people. My uncle James French Sr. started and owned the oldest black-owned newspaper in the state of South Carolina, the Charleston Chronicle. He passed away back in 2021, short of his 95th birthday. Unfortunately, his paper, his dream, his eyes on the prize died with him. He was an award-winning journalist. He was one of the first black photojournalists in Vietnam during the Vietnam War. He saw that paper as a way to not only tell our stories, but also as a form of generational wealth. He owned the building that the paper was housed in. It was, downtown Charleston, very valuable real estate. The family, I remember Bill Cosby called me after we interviewed Andrew White. He had Bill Cosby call me and my co-host for that show, Kara Dangerous. Shout out to Kara Dangerous. And Bill Cosby, I told Bill Cosby my great uncle passed the day before and what he was about. He said, before they sell the building, save the archives. Save the archives. All the gold is there. There's gold in them archives. Gold in there. Because once Hollywood take your story, it's no longer your story. So you basically say, man, save those archives from historical narratives, those primary sources to tell the story of our people so they won't take that story from us. And I talked to one of my cousins. I love her. I said, you see, y'all sold the building? Yeah. So what y'all do with the archives? What archives? Y'all sold the building? Yes. So what happened to the newspaper archive? So that paper, I think they got thrown away. Decades of just journalism, editorial brilliance, put in the trash heap. They could at least donated that stuff to the local library or something. But anyway, it is what it is. That's life. And I keep on trying to talk about the Trump thing. Okay. What's your opinion with that plant Elon has in Memphis and land he brought in the ship? My opinion is this. I believe that it's not Elon's fault that he took advantage of the situation. I think the people that are supposed to represent the interests of the people failed the people because they were more greedy than they was righteous. Because that thing was not transparent with what went down. Like, people came notified after the fact that Elon Musk moved his AI project into Memphis. And I'm just thinking about what Elon Musk said You know, when Jordan Peterson asked what he's doing in Memphis with that plant, he said he's there to raise a God, a new religion. Because people don't understand Memphis is like Memphis, Egypt is a commerce and religious hub. Church of God in Christ was founded in Memphis. FedEx, you know, all that stuff, Holiday Inn, all that stuff was founded here in Memphis. Piggly Wiggly, the first supermarket, was founded in Memphis. So I think it's an interesting play. I think it's like Terminator, man. Skynet. This is the real Skynet. You know, smart cities in Memphis. A lot of LLCs, a lot of tech people, tech organizations are moving into Memphis and buying real estate. Elon made an interesting move. His organization was willing to finance several Memphis Shelby County schools, and the school system took them up on the offer. So, you know, the mayor saying it's going to generate a lot of tax revenue for the city in the millions of dollars and create maybe a couple 400 jobs. But what is the environmental cost for the people? What is the health cost for the people? Because, like, you know, where it's located in that 38109 zip code, they have a high cancer death over there. You know, Memphis dealing with like a lot of asthma in the city in general. It's majority Black city. They want people to think that asthma is hereditary. It's not like how they say it is. I'll give you an example of Richmond, California, where they had the Chevron refinery. You had generations of Black kids getting asthma because of that refinery poisoning the air. We got a lot of poison in our air. We got good, clean drinking water, artesian water, right? Well water in Memphis. Very good water, but how long are they going to last when they start building the pipeline through the artesian stuff, right? Leadership fail. I don't think it's necessarily had to be a bad thing if we get some tangibles out of this so-called partnership. Like I say, Elon Musk is the wealthiest man in the world, but he doesn't pay his light bill, his water bill on time. And he's a hell of $1 trillion rich, right? So my thing is, Memphis really is a gem. We're going to need some different type of visionary, creative leadership to really help the people of the city get leverage in this situation. Because the current crop of so-called misleadership we have, they are not up to the task, unfortunately. We don't have visionary leadership or people with backbone in those positions. Shit, I mean, we could have, like, it wouldn't even be bad to have a Jimmy Hoffa-like person, and, you know, the go head on with Elon Musk, but Jimmy Hoffa, they had to get rid of him because he was too powerful, you know, because I don't think that NAFTA deal would have went through had it been people like Jimmy Hoffa in position. And I don't even think Jimmy Hoffa would have been teamster, but I mean, if you had fighters like Jimmy Hoffa and Walter Reuther, people like that advocated for the working person, this country would be different right now. He said, my old Atlanta pastor, Jackson Williams, C.L. Franklin protege, said they used to call Memphis New Jerusalem because they had so many great preachers, churches, singers. It is. In fact, Jackson Williams, he did Aretha Franklin's eulogy as well as C.L. Franklin's eulogy. His brother is Pastor Alton Williams, Bishop Alton Williams, World Overcomer Church. If you ever come to Memphis, his church is situated at the corner of Kirby Parkway and Winchester. You can't miss it because it got that big old Statue of Liberty. It's called the Statue of Liberation Through Christ. They did a New York Times article on it years ago when they first debuted it. So it's a powerful landmark in the city. Yeah, Memphis produced, like I said, Church of God in Christ was started here. Bishop Charles Mason was born and raised in Memphis. He started Church of God of Christ in Memphis back in 1907 because he was kicked out of his previous church that he started. And that's a powerful denomination because you think about Denzel. Denzel was just made a preacher in the Kojic church. He was ordained as a minister or a preacher, whatever. And, you know, they said about Denzel got that mouthpiece, right? And Denzel, they say Denzel be listening to Memphis rappers and stuff like, I saw a picture he took with Moneybag Yo. I think they was eating dinner in Miami. And we did it, Memphis, man, like I tell people get mad. Memphis has produced its fair share of preachers, pimps, and lawyers. Sometimes you get 3 in 1. A lot of prominent pimps, preachers, and lawyers are from Memphis. Y'all remember Dr. Reverend Benjamin Hooks, right? He was the president of NACP. He was one of the first black people on the what you call that commission to do media stuff. But he had a church up in Detroit. Prominent preacher from Memphis, lawyer too. Pimp, I don't know. But if you look at, Louis Armstrong's birthday was just August the 4th. He thought he was born July the 4th, 1900. He actually was born August the 4th, 1901. I would tell anybody, if you want to understand the genes of Louis Armstrong and how intelligent he was, read his personal letters and stuff. Read his writings in his own words. It will blow your mind. But he said when he was growing up, the biggest pimp in New Orleans, at least black pimp, was a guy named Clerk Wade. Clerk Wade was a pretty boy. He was a dark-skinned pretty boy. Women went crazy over him. And I believe he was actually killed by one of his prostitutes, one of his bottom bitches. Killed them in a club, in a saloon or whatever. Louis Armstrong said it was one of the biggest funerals in New Orleans history. At least up to that point, it was one of the biggest funerals in earlier 20th century New Orleans. You had black and white mourning the loss of Clerk Wade. That's a brother from Memphis. Even look at folk tales, right? Because people believe them folk stories are not real. Our folk stories are real. Like Frankie Shot Johnny or Frankie and Johnny. That actually happened in St. Louis back in 1899. Frankie shot Johnny, whatever, and Sam Cooke did a song about it. This black woman killed her lover, this male lover, right? He's buried in St. Louis, but the thing about it is, what's crazy about this story, she lived long enough for her to hear the popular songs that came out of that incident. She actually sued Hollywood or the music industry about using her story for their gain. She was committed several times, I believe, in mental institutions. I believe she got committed. Let me look her up right quick. Frankie Shot Johnny woman. Y'all gotta be I'll be freestyle on here. Yeah. Yes, the song is AI Strikes Again. Yes, the song Frankie and Johnny is based on a real life event involving Frankie Baker and Alan Britt, also known as Albert Britt, in St. Louis, Missouri in 1899. Frankie shot Alan after finding him with another woman. While the song immortalized the event, it also, according to a Cultural Front article, largely erased Frankie Baker's identity and turned her story into a source of entertainment for others. Black people pain is white folks' profit. Black people pain is white folks' profit and entertainment. This woman had to deal with this. She lived for decades after that incident, and she was traumatized by the way how white folks use her pain, her tragedy, to make money off of it. And she took it to court. And Frankie was acquitted of the crime after claiming self-defense, right? Erosion of Frankie's identity. While the song is well known, Frankie and Johnny, the real Frankie Baker story and struggles were largely ignored as the song became a popular piece of American folklore, particularly when portrayed by white performers. Black pain, white profit. Let me read this. They talk about the lawsuits. In 1935, Baker sued Mae West. Come and see me sometimes, big boy. Come and see. Mae West was messing around. She liked the brothers. Mae West messed around with a brother from Memphis, a boxer from Memphis, man. Mae West loved the black man. She messed around with Jack Johnson. She loved the brothers, man. She said she sued Mae West for incidents in the film. She done him wrong for $100,000. Woo! Woo-wee. So they make it short, right? So her name is, look at Frankie Baker, man. That's crazy, man. I think she got committed a couple of times. Her life was messed up. She killed that dude. That dude died in 1899. She lived for a good while after that incident. Look at Frankie Baker. But even Sam Cooke did a song I like of Frankie and Johnny. Trying to see if I can find some quick stuff and I'll move on. Because I really I want to talk about Trump and the crime. Let's see. This song. Okay, Frances Baker moved away from St. Louis in 1901 to escape the notoriety the song brought her, first to Omaha, then to Portland, but with several plays, movies, and a ballet written about the murder and the many versions of the song, she was forever branded as the woman who shot Johnny. Karma. Nobody gets away with anything in this life. Some people shun her for it. Others asked for her autograph. A few thought she was either greedy or delusional to think the song was about her. It got her name, Frankie. Her name is Frankie, and the song got Frankie in there shooting Johnny. Frankie and Johnny were sweethearts. At any rate, Frankie Baker never profited from the song. Baker sued film companies more than once over the 1933 Mae West film She Done Him Wrong, in which West sings the song, and the 1936 movie Frankie and Johnny. She complained that the facts of her story were wrong. Music historian Sigmund Spaeth had previously written about the song and linked it to the St. Louis shooting, but testified in the second lawsuit that he has since traced the song back to the Civil War. Spaeth was paid $2,000 for his testimony. Remind me of Eric Monty when he tried to get justice for black folks in Hollywood in the court. Could not find any legal representation. They gave him $1 million and they blackballed him for the rest of his life. That's the guy who created Good Times. He also wrote the screenplay for Cooley High, which is about his life. And also he helped develop the Jeffersons and had the idea for the Cosby Show. That's Eric Monty. I interviewed him some years ago. I need to re-upload that interview. Juries weren't convinced the song and the two movies were about her. It was about her, but they it's like Jesus was black and they turned him white. It's like they turn Beethoven white. It's like they're gonna turn Charlie Parker and Duke Ellington and Tupac white. You just bet you ain't gonna be around. We ain't gonna be around when they turn Tupac and Charlie Parker and Duke Ellington white. But that's what they do. Juries weren't convinced the song and the two movies were about her. Baker lost the lawsuits, returned to her home in Portland, and died in a mental institution in 1952. Look, they didn't want to believe a black woman because she was a black woman. Let's be honest. If she was a white woman, somewhere else, she might have got some money. Might have even got the chance to star in the film and sing the song herself. But she was this black woman. Who gives a damn about a black woman? That's who she was. She didn't lose because she was wrong. She lost because she was a black woman. And she's from St. Louis. And think about that famous Dred Scott case where Roger Taney, the Supreme Court Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, told basically Dred Scott that you nor your descendants have any rights. The white man is bound to respect by law. She got the Dred Scott treatment. She was in a state of misery, then left St. Louis misery and spent her life in a state of misery. She lived 50 years after that happened. Think about it. She'd been better off dying that night in 1899 with A.L.L and Britt. Maybe she would have been better if she got killed. Oh, also I will say about Memphis. See, that's folk history. Y'all think these folk stories are made up like John Henry? There was actually a John Henry that worked on a railroad from New Jersey. They got a picture of a dude that was known as John Henry who worked on the railroads from New Jersey. Also, Stagger Lee. Got talking about Memphis being a home of pimp players and preachers and lawyers and whatever. Stagger Lee was a cat from Memphis. You know, Stagger Lee, you know, that folk song about Stagger Lee, he actually existed. He existed. He was from Memphis. He's buried somewhere in the St. Louis area. So this is what I'm telling you. Black history is stranger than science fiction and better than a Hollywood movie. It's better than a Hollywood movie. So I just told y'all some game. You know, they won't tell us the truth about our people, man. I'm discovering stuff right now that's crazy. And also, let me see what I can do. I wanted to talk about something tonight. I'm going to put it on the table. I'm probably going to do a live tomorrow. And we could talk about it then. I'm going to wrap this up. I want to spend some time on the Donald Trump thing. Getting back to Trump. Getting back to Trump. He's doing the right thing. Like I said, go back to where the country was at 100 years ago. And look at what the country is at now in 2025 versus 1925. What was going on? Prohibition, organized crime. You got folks getting shot up with machine guns and stuff in Chicago, places like that. You got a lot of craziness going on. You know, you got the opioid crisis today, but you had folks dying from illegal poisonous alcohol. Because once you say it was illegal, people could make it, you know, they were making alcohol in their bathtubs, like Kamala was cleaning collard greens in her bathtub. That's how they were making their alcohol. Kamala Harris was cleaning the collard greens in her bathtub. They were making alcohol in their bathtub. And you don't know what they was using. So government did that. So like now, like with Trump, what he's doing, he's doing law and order. The guy with the 34 felonies believes in law and order. I have no problem with that. I think, like with black people, we believe in law and order, but we don't want the law to abuse its power. That's our problem. It's not necessarily police, but police are the problem. How they train them. I would say this, you know, police show up to the scene of the crime. They don't prevent the crime. They organize the crime because how they facilitate. It's like that show The Wire, right? They had that, you know, Amsterdam, you know, Bunny Colvin, one of my favorite characters on The Wire, Police Chief Bunny Colvin or whatever. You know, he came up with the idea of Amsterdam. Instead of sending folks to prison for drugs, just create an environment where they make sure they get clean needles and the drug dealers could do their thing without getting worried about getting arrested by the police. It's a controlled, contained area where the police control the parameters and the rules of engagement. And really, that's the way to go, because the founder of modern policing in America was named August Waldner. I think his name was August Waldner. Look him up. He was an American police chief out in Berkeley, but he invented modern policing in this country. He was a professor as well, too. And he said that drugs, you know, drug usage addiction is not a crime problem. It's a mental problem. It's a mental health problem. And police should not even be dealing with, you know, drug-related issues. That's what he said back in the day. And I agree. I mean, but, you know, when you criminalize and villainize poor black people, then it's crime. But when white kids are ODing at the McDonald's out in East Memphis, then there's a problem. It's a medical crisis. So, yeah, it's a tale of two Americas. So my thing with Trump, and really what the problem is really the programming. It's the social media. And I believe in free speech. Social media programming, TV shows, the music, the food. You think about like these fast food restaurants, right? You had the incident up in Detroit where the girl stabbed her boss so many times. The woman who was the mother of 6 kids, 39-year-old woman up in the Detroit area, stabbed by her employee because she was showing her hours and stuff like that. Came back. You got to think about it. She did social media posts about her boss bullying her. And just based on her body language and how she presented herself, she probably was getting bullied at work. Not necessarily just by her boss, but just by, you know, how she acts. She's kind of different. And like these kids they move different, they look different, they smell different, it's just different, for obvious reasons because of what they do to our bodies and minds and stuff with the conditioning through the food, through the air, through the drinking water, whatever they do, through the programming, through the media, through the smartphones, the social media. So she stabbed her boss multiple times because she was getting sent home early and she couldn't make the money she need to cover her bills. Now she ain't gonna never have to worry about getting sent home early. She's gonna be doing time for a minute. Then you also had in Memphis, my hometown, we had the general manager of a Wendy's that I used to go to years ago. He killed a person. Like he was trying to get one of his employees wanted to get time off or something, leave work early or something like that. He threatened to slap her allegedly, and then she called some guy she knew. Some people said that was her boyfriend. It was a dude. She called up there, told her about what the general manager wanted to do to her. He come up and confronts the general manager, and people caught this on smartphones. General manager confront him outside, pull out his gun, shot the dude, and then slapped the dude on the face and went back in, I guess. Think about it. Then Wendy said that the employees cannot carry weapons on the premises. This dude is a general manager carrying a gun, and really, I don't understand how it got to that point because dude, I guess he swung on him, whatever, but I don't think he was in fear of his life. Dude, trying to, whatever they did, it didn't cause for that gun to be used. And really, he was not supposed to have the gun on his person according to Wendy's policies. So this man basically threw away his life, destroyed multiple lives. And the girl don't have to worry about showing up for work. I know that much. So she shouldn't have to worry about showing up to work at Wendy's, at least, after that incident. But what's going on? What are they putting in the food for people that lose their minds like that? You think about, when the Popeyes chicken sandwich came out several years ago. I was going crazy over it too, but I was not willing to kill somebody for some Popeyes chicken sandwich. And now it's been years since I ate a Popeyes chicken sandwich. I remember, man, I used to be mad, man, what a chicken sandwich? What are they putting in our food to make us this angry? Baba Dick Gregory talking about how much manganese was in malt liquor. It'll make you kill your mama. And people are killing people. And I'm betting a lot of the people that's killing people got probably a high fast food intake because the chemicals they put in our food. Because it's psychology. Because if you look at even McDonald's, like the colors make you hungry, like red and yellow. So look how they wrap your food up. These are colors that make you hungry. This is psychological. They use certain colors to make you feel certain moods. This is science. You can look all this stuff up. So what is really going on, man? Okay, I'm looking at U.S. Attorney Pirro wants to prosecute black DC 14-year-olds and does not rehabilitate them. But where are the black advocates for black people? Where are the black politicians that advocates for black people? Where are the people that stand up for our people, man? He can only do this because we don't stand up for our people. And they've been prosecuting 14-year-olds. Look up George Steeny. George Steeny was put to death June 16th, 1944 by the state of South Carolina under very questionable circumstances. This man was not even allowed to, he's not even a man. Let me tell you, you got to stop making these folks. This was a child. George Steeny was 14 years old, right? In South Carolina, found guilty, sentenced to death for a month. Like his lawyer did not file one appeal to preserve his life, and they put him to death. He's the youngest person to die in the electric chair during the 20th century. That was 1944 when they did that, and he was 14. And think about 14-year-old Emmett Till and some other cases too. But what I'm saying is, when has this ever been not new? We got political prisoners that should be out of prison. Why nobody making a call to the pardon czar to get H. Rap Brown out of prison? Mumi Abu Jamal. Geronimo Pratt, they got the Geronimo Pratt treatment. Geronimo Pratt, that's Tupac's godfather, right? Geronimo Pratt spent like 27 years in prison, and the government knew he did not commit the crime. The government withheld evidence from the jury. Had the jury had access to that evidence, he would not spend one day in prison. Geronimo Pratt was at a Black Panther meeting. up in Oakland, I believe. And the woman that they say he killed was hundreds of miles away in I think L.A. Was a school teacher playing tennis or something. Yeah, I look at the. I don't feel like just always looking up stuff no more because like everything's about TikTok brain. Y'all look up stuff. Y'all believe everything people say in less than a minute on TikTok. Brother Ron could talk for 2 hours. Y'all don't believe a word. But Jerome Pratt was under government surveillance. This is what I'm saying. Jerome Pratt was surveyed by the government. They had him under watch. They knew exactly where he was at the time the incident happened with the lady who got killed in the LA area. He was nowhere near LA, but the government allowed for him to go to prison for almost 30 years. He won a settlement against the government for several $1 million. He moved to Tanzania, where I believe he died in Tanzania back in 2010. He's, the girl that played on one of the UPN shows. There was Fleck's daughter. I'm talking about Kyla Pratt. That's his kinfolk. She's a good-looking sister, but you look at her face, she look like Jerome Pratt. They got some similar facial features. Kyla Pratt, I think her name, was on that show with Flex on UPN. But anyway, that's your government. So the same government that did that to Jerome Pratt, Dr. King, the gun that got Dr. King came from the FBI. Chain of possession showed it came from the FBI. Fred Hampton was killed in his sleep, and Mark Clark, defense captain of the Illinois Black Panther Party, were both killed in their sleep or in a vulnerable state, courtesy of the FBI. The informant provocateur, William O'Neill, who was Fred Hampton's chief bodyguard, provided the floor plans to the FBI, his handler, who in turn provided the floor plans to, I guess, the state attorney office, Edward Hannaran, and the Chicago Police Department. Marcus Garvey was set up for mail fraud by the FBI. He was deported by the FBI because of the FBI shenanigans. The FBI has done a lot to hurt and undermine Black people. They have. They should not even be in existence. I mean, the CIA done a lot to hurt people, bringing in drugs into the country, poisoning Black people. And enough is enough. So what I'm saying is, I don't know what I'm saying, but I do know what I'm saying. Oh, thank you for that. He said, you are correct. Harriet's Wildest Dreams is an advocacy group advocating on behalf of at-risk DCU. That's great. I'm going to check them out. I would like to possibly interview a representative from them, from that organization, because we do need to put the spotlight. Because what I'm saying is, we have failed as a people, man, because, we had people that cared about people, man, in government, in public service. I mean, really, I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about Mickey Leland. Y'all need to look up who Mickey Leland was, man. He was from Houston. He was U.S. representative. He was at one point president of the Black Caucus. He's wore dashikis. He wanted to end world hunger in the world. He cared about Black people worldwide. He cared about people in general. The government did him dirty. He died in a helicopter crash, I think, on the side of a mountain in East Africa. They waited for days to come rescue him. The powers they think they be made sure that Mickey Leland was dead on that mountainside when they got to him. Had they got to him and his people earlier, they would have probably survived. But this is what they do. It reminds me of Ron Brown. He got shot in the head, man. He wasn't killed in a plane crash. The stewardess that survived the crash, she was alive when they airlifted her to the hospital. When she got to the hospital, she was dead. Her neck was broken. Y'all can look all this stuff up. The plane that Ron Brown was on was supposed to be Hillary Clinton's plane. Look at all that up. I'm just throwing all this stuff out there. I'm about to wrap it up. I haven't talked about all the things I want to talk about, but I'll be freestyling, man. I don't know. I have ideas about what I want to talk about, but I'm going to talk about it tomorrow. I'm doing some movie reviews, all that stuff tomorrow. But y'all can support this channel, man. Support what we're doing. Brother Ron is fighting for us now. I'm here. I'm doing regular podcasts. I don't know. My mind is all over the place. I got a lot going on that I'm not talking about. But I like talking about y'all. This is very therapeutic for me to do. Hope y'all getting some use out of this as I stay on these airways. But I'm going to save the review for tomorrow, the movie review. And I need to do centers too. I know y'all been waiting for my centers take, because I'm not hearing things out that people missed out what they could have had on the centers thing. But all this time I thought that people didn't want to hear from me like that. I didn't know people were still checking for me like that. I'm be honest with you, because I've been in this game, ebbs and flows, since, like I said, January 7, 2007. And it's people like have passed me by, man. It's like, and I cheer for people's success. And it's very inspiring. Like I said, I went to the podcast summit. It was very inspiring to be there, to meet these people, man. These youngins. I'm learning from the youngins how to do this there, how to do that there. But this ain't the last words from Brother Herd. If you like what you heard from Brother Herd, please subscribe, right? YouTube.com/WeAllBTV2. Or you can also rumble.com/WeAllBTV. You could cash out your support, $R2C2H2. You could Google Pay. I don't know how Google Pay. You could PayPal and Zelle, R2C2H2 @gmail.com. That's R2C2H2 @gmail.com. You could Venmo your support at R2C2H2. Apple Cash it, 901-299-4355. Also join the Patreon, patreon.com/WeAllB. That Patreon about to be on and popping now, man. I thank the people that have recommitted to the Patreon, and I know I owe people some stuff, some swag, and that is coming on the way. There won't be any delays. Hey. All right. I guess it does it for tonight. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. Influence 1414. Brother Ron, you always bring a perspective and history our people need to hear. We appreciate you, and we love you madly. Influence 1414. You've been listening to been listening to this show, this platform a long time. Like I said, I didn't know I had people that rock me like that. Sister Deborah Clark, Betty Jones, a lot of good people, man, out there. I ain't naming everybody, but y'all know who y'all are. Good people, man. I'm just very thankful and grateful to be able to be of service to you all. So thank you tonight. In the words of Great Duke Ellington, we love you madly. Keep on producing and pushing. And we about to be out of here. But before we out of here, I want to bring a little bit more cheer. Can you dig it? I can dig it if you can dig it. But thank y'all, man. This is very therapeutic. I needed this. Y'all don't even have any idea. We're going to sing y'all rock.